From
Computer's on.
yeah.
Hey, have you guys ever heard of that IT guy, Mr. Romero?
Who? The computer guy?
He's weird.
Yeah, he's lame.
Yeah, man, he's always blocking everything.
We never really thought that he would have came with such a veracity for internet security, and he really brings passion to locking down the internet here at the school.
Cruz was my first love. We were inseparable, except for when he was gaming. It was like I didn't even exist.
Cold-blooded murder is making Mortal Kombat the most popular video game in history. Kids relish their victory and their bloody choice. Should they pull out their opponent's heart, or simply rip his head off just to see his spinal cord dangle in a pool of blood? How do you feel about cutting his head off? One.
He was a beast of Mortal Kombat. I mean, he was the best. But if you got in his way, he was impulsive. He'll snap. It made him a different person.
We now require warning labels on toys that can potentially damage children's bodies. Why not do so on a toy that can damage their minds?
Well, he would get mad whenever I bothered him when he was gaming.
What do you know about that day?
Not much. It was like any other day. His dad was drunk and he didn't want to go home. So we went where he always wanted to go when he wanted to escape, the arcade.
There are lots of places where youngsters can play video games without such guidance or adult supervision. So next week, the U.S. Senate will conduct hearings on ways to supervise the video industry. Bill Greenwood, ABC News, Washington.
It was getting late. He knew I had to be home, and he didn't care. He was plugged into those games.
He came to my house right after, or at least that's what he said. There was a lot that seemed to be sketchy. But then it's Cruz.
According to the confession signed by Mr. Romero, the victim was closing up the store, but Mr. Romero just wouldn't listen. When the victim powered down the machines, Mr. Romero got aggressive. He picked up the stool and attacked the victim.
I waited for him. Time passes by and eventually I got tired of it. After a while, I started to realize how much better I was when
It was hard on him when Betty stopped visiting. He had a lot of time to evaluate his life. It took a few attempts, but eventually he was granted parole.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. While video games are always reaching new heights of graphical fidelity and interactive storytelling, games still revolve around acts of violence, as they mostly have since we were shooting each other in Space Wars some 40 years ago.
It took a while for him to adjust to the way things have changed.
Ultraviolence is commonplace in video games. Headshots, decapitations, disemboweling, incinerations, it's all business as usual. The fact is, playing games means playing with violence. This is what video game violence looks like in 2011.
I gave him a job here. It's been good for him.
Do you find that violence in the home, which we try to prevent them from seeing or experiencing, and yet on video games it is not but a little bit of difference or a little bit impressionable?
I would have to think that a home environment would have a much more dramatic effect than staring at a television set.